Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to look at Marvel Premiere number 45 and number 46. This was a two-parter featuring Man-Wolf. And when I was a kid, this was the coolest fucking shit I ever saw. Look at this. How awesome is that? A werewolf barbarian. It's beautiful cover there by George Perez and Bob McLeod inks. And this is George Perez and Terry Austin inks. I guess I'm getting ahead of myself. But these were written by David Kraft and penciled by George Perez. Unfortunately, these inkers are not President's side. Too much worse inkers do the work in here. But yeah, guys, this is another nostalgia one. I found a double of this comic, and I ripped off the cover, because this cover to me is just the epitome of awesome. And it's right over my alarm clock. So every morning I wake up and I look over and I see this image. Look how badly drawn, though, this Man-Wolf is in the corner. It's probably Don Perlin or something. But yeah, I want to show these off to you guys. So there we go. Like I said, told you the artists already. Man-Wolf is back, savagely fighting the other war. That's such a dumb title. So, Man-Wolf in the mid-70s appeared in Creatures on the Loose, Marvel monster title. He was the star. The title was canceled, and Marvel Premiere, sometimes it would introduce new characters, sometimes it would continue things. You know, like Man-Wolf never got to finish his story. So, they gave him 2 issues of Marvel Premiere. But also, these are very different than the normal Man-Wolf stories, as you could tell by the cover. Instead of being like, oh, I'm a werewolf, I must control my urges, I'm a danger to everyone I love, running around the countryside, they turned it into this epic sci-fi fantasy comic. So like I said, there's the credits. So the inker is Frank Giacoa, and he's not doing George Perez any favors on this. It still has some great Perez layouts. So the story starts off on Earth's moon. I guess this is where Creatures on the Loose, the last issue, ended. These 3 guys had kind of gotten on the spaceship with John Jameson. That is the alter ego of Man-Wolf. He's J. Jonah Jameson's son and the fiance of Christine Saunders. So he goes out into the surface of the moon. Oh, God, I love that panel. Just that pose that Man-Wolf's making. It looks so cool. And he goes into this crater and goes into this cave, and he kind of goes through this mystic dimensional portal. And when he comes out, he's in the other world. And we see these kind of like barbarian sword and sorcery characters. And we see this guy Bark with a Q, Sachiel. And I'll get her name in a second. And the weirdest thing is all of a sudden Man-Wolf's like, I can think. I'm still the Man-Wolf, but I'm John Jameson's brain is in my head, and it's working. Because when Man-Wolf turns into, you know, his lupine form, he's a complete animal. He doesn't have a sentient thought. So it turns out he can even speak, not verbally, mentally. We see this little weird word bubbles whenever he talks to imply that he's just psychically communicating. And they all kneel down before him, and they call him the Star God. And of course, Man-Wolf's like, what the hell are you talking about? And then the 3 guys in the spaceship show up. I guess they were passed out and they woke up and followed Man-Wolf to this place. And this guy's Garth. He's kind of like the leader, the hero leader. And this big lummox is called Gorjun. And we have this wizard named Lambert. So they explain everything to Man-Wolf and tell him that this basically false god named Arisen Turk has fallen over the realm. Now, in the original Creatures of the Loose stories, the last story that appeared, there was this villain named Harrison Turk, spelled differently. And I guess he was on Earth trying to get the Moonstone, which is on Manwolf's neck. That's what turns him into the Manwolf. He discovered it on the moon when he was an astronaut. You know, back in Amazing Spider-Man number 60-something. And Harrison Turk wants it, apparently. It's like the Godstone. And they tell him basically that, like, you know, the reason why you can think now is because in this dimension, the Moonstone is much more powerful. And it's actually, they kind of tell him that he's got these godlike powers now. Of course, he doesn't really believe him. And Lambert takes out this great sword, gives it to him, and Manwolf agrees to help them fight Arisen Turk. We have a little cutaway, a scene change. Back on Earth, we see J. Jonah Jameson, and this character here, he's some kind of cop, federal agent. He was like the villain in Manwolf. He was always chasing him down. And it's interesting, this scene, just because J. Jonah Jameson is actually, like, he's crying. He actually isn't being a dick for once. He actually just seems like a sad father who's worried about his son. And also worried about John's fiance. Apparently Harrison Turk abducted her. And then he just disappeared. So there's no trail. Man, that's quite a panel. Just seeing J. Jonah Jameson have an emotion other than cigar chopping anger. Or jerkery. Oh, guys, here's another panel that I freaking loved this as a kid. It looks like something from like a D&D profile. Like, this is my character. He's got 18 charisma. I mean, I think this guy at least 79 charisma. And we see all of his new allies here. He's got this cool new armor. Oh, God, I love that. So they say, okay, we got to get on these flying steeds. Kind of look like flying reptiles. And then I really love the imagination in this other world. It is really like, it's almost like, I mean, it's not nearly as good as Roger Dean, but I just love all these floating rocks and mountains and hill, you know, even the small mountains. Okay, hold on to your sock garters, everyone. I don't know why I said sock. Oh, wait, it's not yet. So they're flying, trying to find Harrison Turk, and then his minions show up, the Cavalry of the Damned. I really like the design of these guys. Really, kind of scary looking. His foot soldiers or his wing soldiers. This is nice in the mail, the letter page. David Kraft, I think it's David Kraft wrote this. He gives us a whole synopsis. Because of course, if you're new to this, if you never read Creatures on the Loose, you wouldn't know what the hell's going on. So that's pretty cool. These ads were like for 2 months in every single comic. I remember these milk duds. Hey, I just realized we just did the Marvel calendars. That's the 1977 one, I believe, by Jack Kirby and John Romita. That's weird. Okay, here's the point where you have to hold on to your sock garters. And look at this awesome battle scene. And this is just... you know, I'm saying that just because the layouts. But look at this crappy inking by Frank Giacoa. That guy was terrible. I mean, I'm sure he had a heyday, but the 70s he was inking tons of stuff and it was all shit. So anytime he inked a comic that I liked, he would always be like, ah, God damn it. This penciler's normally good, but Frank Giacoa inked it. I mean, this is still totally whatever, you know, workmanlike. But I mean, I don't know. I just wish Terry Austin inked this. Some really great action. Perez, I love the way Perez, his panelology, you know, he's just a total fanboy, you know. And isn't it, I thought this was interesting that what's his name, Garth or whatever his name is. He's totally reminds me of Wolf the Barbarian, my favorite barbarian character from Atlas Seaboard. The silver chainmail, the blonde hair. He's wearing these weird leather leggings, but he kind of looks like Wolf the Barbarian. Just slap a red cape on him. And so, you know, they're doing pretty good, the heroes, but eventually there's just too many of the cavalry of the damned, and they start losing. First, Sachiel is thrown from her steed, and she falls to her death. Manwolf is just furious. Sachiel, which is kind of weird because he just met her. It's not like he knows her really. And more of them fall. Bark, he falls, plummets to the earth, to his apparently to his death. And then Garjun, his flying steed, is killed, and he kind of also plummets to earth, but kind of on his dying steed. So it looks like he's in a little tailspin. These guys totally remind me of like they were designed by Gil Kane or something. Maybe it's just because of the winged helmet. Gil Kane loved to draw those winged helmets, like Thor type helmets. And then Manwolf plummets to the earth. And the remaining members here, they basically they surrender because Lambert says we must survive for now and hope. So now we cut away, and it looks like Garjun is still alive because his beast is kind of pirouetting, even though he's dead. His wings are kind of holding up a little, and Stargod grabs him, and they land in water. Garjun can't swim though, so luckily Manwolf's there to save him. Oh, I wish I could have covered this from you guys. Look at that. Sorry, I'll get to that in a second. So they basically say, okay, we got to find Harrison Turk's castle or whatever, his fortress, and free our friends. I know these pencils look better than that. I guarantee you. Not that, you know, George Prince was that great at this point. He was still a little young, a little raw. But if a better inker inked that. And then look at this. Manwolf making a vow. Manwolf is out for your stinking blood. That's so cool. You know what would have made this amazing? A 70s Klaus Janson in this. Remember how Klaus Janson was all like great Tom Palmer-ish back then? He usually made pencilers better. This comic would be like 50 times better. Okay, number 46, part 2. This is maybe even worse drawn Manwolf in the corner box. It's pretty goofy looking. And here's the Austin Ings cover. Just imagine if the whole comic was drawn this good. This would be so much better. If you guys don't know David Kraft, he was almost like the poor man Steve Gerber at Marvel. He, took over Defenders after Gerber. He definitely had a wonky, kooky style like Gerber. I think David Kraft was probably some hippie, kind of groovy guy. And he definitely put shit in his comics that most Marvel writers didn't. The typical nerdy fanboy writer. But he's not as good as Gerber, but most of his comics are pretty damn interesting. He was, in the 70s, he was definitely trying some interesting things. Putting humor in his comics. He'd always put in Blue Oyster Cult references in his comics, which was kind of weird. And so here the credits are the same, except for The inks are now by R. Villamonte, or it's probably pronounced Villamonte. And that guy was another hack. He wasn't a very good inker, as you can see. But just the poses that Pérez does, I don't really care. It still looks cool as hell. So now these guys are heading for Harris and Turk's fortress. It turns out it's a giant flying fortress on this inverted flying mountain. And Manwolf has a plan. He waits till nightfall, and then they build a raft, and they float out under the flying fortress. And I thought this was crazy when I was a kid. I was just like, whoa, he really does have amazing powers. He basically takes a blade, kind of makes a spear with a rope tied to it. Look at that, guys. Man, I bought the very first issue when it came out. I was so into Micronauts with the Michael Golden art. Okay, sorry for that. So, Manwolf throws it. I think they say it's a half mile in the air. He throws it for a half a mile. He embeds itself in the rock, and then he climbs up it. And he says, "Come on, Garjun, follow me." And then when they get to the rock, basically Garjun piggybacks on him, because Manwolf is so strong. He can just, like, crawl up this insane inverted flying mountain. Garjun takes care of a guard. Garjun reminds me of Grizzly Adams. And then Manwolf finds Eris and Turk. And he's got, what's her name? God damn it. The one with she has a steel hand because she was once a guest to Eris and Turk's dungeons, and they tortured her and chopped off her hand. And then we see the other two captives. Oh, I'm sorry, one other captive. And of course, Harrison Turk's a total villainous type. He's threatening them. And Manwolf breaks in. See this reaction thing? It's almost like, those lines when someone's excited or shocked in a comic. This was such a 70s thing. Perez did it a lot, but I think other artists did it too. This weird designing effect to basically show shock or surprise. And it's interesting because it died out. It was, it's kind of interesting, like certain comics grammar, it just didn't last. But I definitely remember this being used a bunch when I was a kid. I think Jim Starlin does stuff like this. I can't think of other artists who use it now, but then you never see that anymore. Kind of interesting that everything has its day. Well, not everything. Some things, are developed and then they become a staple. And then we finally see Lambert the Wizard. They chopped off his hands, so he can't do any spells. So Manwolf says, "Yeah, you got the knowledge. We'll be your hands. Come on." And they release the other prisoners. And Manwolf he is pissed off. He really just wants to get this Harrison Turk fellow. So the other prisoners are a little weak from being prisoners, but they all help. And they fight through the guards. And when Manwolf comes to Harrison's chamber, not only does he find Harrison Turk, but his fiancée Christine is there. And he had no idea Christine wasn't on Earth. So of course he's shocked. I'm surprised there's no graphic design shock lines coming from his head. Now guys, am I crazy? But I think this panel is not inked by Ricardo Villamonte. This looks totally different to me and way better. But who knows? A broken clock's right twice a day, right? So maybe Villamonte did a good job on this one. I remember reading about this. Was it in Foom magazine or something? Or maybe it was a comics journal where David Kraft, this is a sign of kind of what a goofball he was. He purposely asked the artist, he's like, make him look like Mo, Larry, and Curly from the Three Stooges. See their hairstyles? And that toy looks like Mo. All of his minions have no pupils, just like him. And so it's kind of like a showdown. He says, come any closer and I'll kill your fiance. I'll kill this woman. And Man-Wolf stops everyone. Because the other guys are just like, fuck, we don't care. She's a acceptable loss. But Man-Wolf's all like, stand down. He's actually like, kind of attacks his allies. Says, get the hell back. Because he loves Christine so much. And the countdown's going. Harrison Turk saying, you only got 1 minute left. And Lambert says, listen, Star God. The stone has more powers than you could even imagine. You can stop him. You don't need to, give in to his threats. And I forgot all these ads in the 70s comics. Okay, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. Maybe this is another anchor, but it does seem to get better. I like this more than the first 10 pages or so. And so, Man-Wolf, in another cool pose, he basically says, if you hurt Christine, I will tear your throat out with my own claws. And Harrison Turk says, shoot him down. But then Man-Wolf finally uses the Godstone. Harrison Turk's sword just evaporates. All of his soldiers are just obliterated. It's kind of interesting inking there to show the force of the blast. These guys kind of remind me of Barsoomians, like Tars Tarkas, except just 2 arms. And, look at that powerful panel by Pérez. That's, Pérez growing up reading Kirby comics right there. I believe the sound effect is spoom. Spoomoni. And it looks like all the guns are trained on Man-Wolf. Harrison informs him that the firepower of these combined guns is enough to level one of your world's cities. And they fire at Man-Wolf, and it's like water off a duck's back. And finally, John Jameson realizes, I am a god. He accepts his fate. And he just blows up the whole fortress. Because he's a god, he, protected his friends. But that's pretty dramatic there. Dakum. And so we see the aftermath. All the good guys are fine. And all the bad guys, I imagine, are vapor. And they have a tender moment, John and Christine. And he says, I'm a monster, I'm a freak. How could you look at me? And she says, no, you're still John Jameson inside. It wasn't the God who saved me. It was you. And then all of a sudden, Garjun says, hey, we found a portal back to Earth. I guess that was Harrison Turk's way of going back and forth between the other world and Earth. And he says, Christine, you go ahead. I need to settle something with Lambert. And he says, Lambert, are you sure I won't turn back to a mindless beast when I go back? Now that, I've been a god. And Lambert says, I'm not sure. Hopefully, you won't. And then all of a sudden, Harrison Turk pops up. He blows up the portal with this gun. Apparently, he's not quite dead. And then we see him. God, that's a cool panel. That's like Frank Brunner cool. That looks really good. Okay, guys, I'm sorry what I said about Ricardo Villamonte. I still sneakily suspect that somebody else thinks this. But, I don't. He definitely ups his game here. And it turns out it's the handless woman. She was right behind Harrison and fried him. So Man-Wolf decides, is just standing there sad. He's like, the portal's gone. So now we cut away to New York City. I guess the portal empties out onto this apartment roof. And Christine's been there for hours. She's been there all day. The sun's starting to set, and all of a sudden she sees the portal opening, but too slowly. And she says, John! And it looks like Man-Wolf's coming through. But then he starts changing, because it's still daylight. And he makes it through the portal. And basically, the God Force was enough to, send him through the dimensional wall. And they have a tearful reunion. And so that's how we leave Man-Wolf. I don't know if he ever had another series after this. I mean, he could have in the 90s or not, I don't know. But as far as I know, he's definitely appeared in the Marvel Universe, I imagine. So there you go, guys. Marvel Premiere, number 45 and number 46. What year did these come out? I forgot to tell you. So this is 1978. I was 10 years old. Maybe almost 11 when these came out. And believe you me, when you're 10 years old, these are so freaking great. And I'm never going to get rid of these. Sure, there's better comics in the world, but these are really fun to me. And still, I'm bitter that Terry Austin or Klaus Janson couldn't have inked these, or anyone better than Frankie Okoa. And even Ricardo Villamonte, goddammit, I'm reversing my position. I'm flip-flopping. That would have been definitely better than Frankie Okoa. So, hope you guys like looking at these. You can find these in bargain bins, I imagine. Well, not real bargain bins. Anything from the Bronze Age now they slap some money on it, but I don't think they're going for a lot. But man, these are fun, and these are wicked cool. So, I'll hopefully see you here shortly, back here at the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.